Elvis. How are you doing today?
I'm well.
It's good. It's good to see you. I,
You too?
I appreciate you coming back for another session. So, like we had talked about in our previous session, there's kind of a process that we'll go through each session, just starting with a mood check. So, I'll just kind of briefly check in and see how you've been feeling this past week since our last session. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst week you've had, most depressed you felt, to 10 being the best week you've had, not really feeling any symptoms of depression, not feeling down, how would you rate this past week?
You said 10 is my best feeling or my worst feeling?
10 would be feeling your best.
I was probably at a 3.
Probably at a 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you think about how you've rated your week, what kind of events contributed to that score of a 3?
I mostly just go home from work. It's work, home, work, home. You know, occasionally I'll talk to somebody on the telephone, like my son or my brother-in-law or, sister or somebody, but mainly it's just work, home. It's me. I'm alone.
Yeah. So just a lot of time by yourself, and that contributes to those feelings of sadness and depression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel very sad quite often.
Okay. Well, I see that you brought in your activity log.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. This is a great segue. We can actually look at this activity log that you've filled out and kind of go through the different activities that you've done this week.
Mm-hmm.
And by going through each one or each day, we can kind of talk about how those activities maybe impacted your mood, either positively or negatively. I know that we went over this last time when we talked about this homework assignment, and I just wanted to know if it's okay with you if I go over it again, just a little bit of the rationale behind it.
Okay, yeah, because, it's always good to remind of what we're actually working towards.
Perfect. So I can just draw this out so that we have a visual aid here of what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of the theory behind this activity log and why it can be effective for depression is because if we look at our negative behavior that we might be experiencing, such as, I know that you've mentioned in the past doing a lot of sleeping or just sitting on the couch throughout the day. And so the immediate consequence of that could be missing out on work or something along those lines, which leads to, increased stress and leads back to the beginning of the cycle with that negative behavior.
Well, usually when I sleep on the couch, or sit on the couch, I go to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's kind of becoming a bad habit.
Okay, gotcha. So by looking at these patterns and identifying, what we're doing throughout the day, we can see where we might be able to set some goals and make some changes and hopefully improve those patterns. So let's go ahead and take a look at your activity sheet for this week.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do first, before we get into the different activities, is I just want to go over kind of similar to a mood check. We can actually kind of mood check what our week has been like through the lens of the activity log. So I'm just going to ask you to rate your week on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being um, the that the activities you did this week were not pleasurable. You did not get any pleasure from doing them. To 10 being activities that you got a lot of pleasure out of. They maybe brought you some happiness or some joy.
Okay. So 1 for the whole week? The rating?
Yes, the score would be for the whole week.
Yeah.
Did you rate it?
I still think it's like we had mentioned in the beginning, it's still kind of like a 3.
A 3 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and write that down on your activity sheet? That way we can keep track of these things. Okay. So a 3 out of 10. When you look over your week, there's a 3 there, which is great because it means that there was some things that you did find some happiness in. Do you mind sharing what some of those things might have been?
The things that I kind of found some joy in.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to my son. I talked to him on Tuesday night. It wasn't a long conversation, but it was about 15 minutes, and that made me smile, and I even had a few laughs.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you took the initiative to call him?
He called me.
But you still answered the phone?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Compared to last week when you weren't really talking and communicating too often with your kids. I know you were even avoiding phone calls, so
Yes.
That's wonderful. Okay, anything else?
Not really. I have here that I talked to my brother-in-law about a car show, and we're supposed to go tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm still kind of worried about that. I'm not used to going places with him. My wife, since she's passed, I don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it is a hope to get out. So maybe I can convince myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you've made those plans with him. And we'll get back to those kind of feelings of nervousness and anxiety surrounding going out to the car show. We'll just go ahead and continue on kind of our mood checks. So the next area I want you to think about is thinking about achievement. So were you able to complete tasks this week? Were you able to reach any of the goals that you had maybe had in mind or had set for yourself? And this again is on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 would be you didn't complete any of the tasks you set out to, and 10 being that you were able to complete some tasks.
Well, I did make it to the grocery store. I really needed to go to the grocery store. I was out of almost everything, so that's something I really don't like doing, so I was able to do that. So that made me feel better. So I'm gonna do 4 out of 10.
A 4 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. You can keep track of that too on your paper as well. Great. Okay. And I've got one last rating question.
Mm-hmm.
So this question is all about routine. So I know in previous sessions we've kind of talked about routines throughout the day, making sure we're, eating, regular meals or sleeping at appropriate times, and establishing those patterns. So, as you think about your week, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being that your week was really inconsistent, maybe things were done really spontaneously, and then 10 would be that your week was really structured, you were able to follow a schedule or routine.
Well, my basic routine is going home from work and just that's it. But there was some breaks in my routine, so I guess that's a positive in a way because I really need some breaks and some activities. So I'm going to rate it a 4 out of 10.
A 4 out of 10? Okay, great. And in looking at your activity sheet, it looks like you were able to show up to work every day. Um, so yeah, so like you said, you were able to follow some semblance of routine. So that's wonderful. That's really great.
Thank
So when you look at these ratings and look at the activities that you've done this week, are you able to see any sort of correlation or relationship between the different activities that you've done and how your mood was when you did them?
I know when I just go home from work, I'm very bored, lonely, and sad. I just feel like going back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But I did talk to my son and my brother-in-law. Both of those times kind of broke up that, and it helped. Well, like I say, I'm supposed to go tomorrow to the car show if I can make myself get out. So I noticed that I felt better. So maybe I could incorporate talking to people more, but I really don't like doing that either.
Okay. So it sounds like, from what you're saying, when you were doing these activities, like talking to your son or talking to your brother-in-law, it did increase positive feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some positive feelings. Okay. And then at times when you were just at home, your same routine of going home and just being by yourself, being on the couch, it had some negative feelings attached to it.
Yeah. I really started thinking about my wife then, and then that makes me start thinking about my mom because she was so nice and caring like my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I just get sad, so that could possibly definitely have some influence of, the way I've been feeling lately. I kind of feel useless in ways, and like I'm never gonna get out of this negative routine. I see it as a negative thing that I sit here all day and just go home from work, which is another reason I've thought about starting to date again. It's been about a year since my wife has passed. So.
Okay. Yeah. So in reflecting on that experience, and I know that you mentioned that you might want to incorporate some more activities because of the way you felt positive when you did them this last week. Is there anything that you might want to change or add to your schedule, moving forward, incorporate into your daily activities?
Just maybe learning how to get out and speak to people again.
Mm-hmm.
That was something my wife done, not me. I'm very quiet. She's social. I was not. So that is something I think would make me feel better. I'd get out more, and I think more happy.
Okay. So what's a way that you could, a realistic way that you could incorporate more social activities into your routine next week?
I think I could speak with my brother-in-law, see if he can go out for some dinner, or even my sister. She might, but I really don't like speaking with her.
Okay.
She's mean. But my brother-in-law, he might be willing out.
But your brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Okay, that seems like a great goal. That's wonderful.
Okay.
So how was this experience of filling out this activity log?
It was very easy because I didn't have nothing to put in it. But I mean, it got me to realize that I need something extra because I don't do anything.
Gotcha.
And so I stay sad.
So
and depressed.
So did you find it helpful overall? And is it something you'd like to continue doing?
At least for another week or two to see how far it goes and if I can relate any other things that might help.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.